ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्बोद्धूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ. So we are discussing, we have started discussing Shad Darshanani. And I said the source is a Veda for all these darshanas. And not only of the Astika Darshana, of Nastika Darshanas also the source is Veda. And therefore it is better that we should have an introduction of the Veda itself, on basis of which all the darshanas are there. So today I am giving you a brief, very brief introduction of the Vedas, on which all the darshanas are, and how all the darshanas are really based on Vedas, including Nastika darshanas. So Nastikas also basically keep the Veda as a Purvapaksha. And so they are basically busy in refuting the certain principles of the Veda. That's how they are emerged. And Astika darshanas keep themselves engaged, keeping Veda as a Siddhanta. And so the meaning of the Veda, whatever they arrived at, any given philosopher, any darshana, whatever the meaning they have arrived at, of especially Upanishad, and then they are busy in elaborating that meaning based on that darshana, and also clarifying further that meaning whatever they have arrived. So Astikas keep the Vedas as a Siddhanta, as a basis. Nastikas keep Vedas as a Purvapaksha. But both have, no one can basically bypass Veda. And therefore ultimately we should be aware of, we should be aware of what is Veda actually. And one very interesting thing is, in Nastikas also, even though we say they keep the Vedas, the meaning of the Veda, etc., or the subject matter of the Veda as a Purvapaksha, but a lot of things they have arrived at in their even Nastika Paksha also, they have arrived at through Veda. You will wonder that there are 5 elements, Panchabhutas, is established by Veda. All darshanas talk about 5 Panchamahabhutas. And so these Panchamahabhutas are there, that itself is ascertained by Veda. That there are senses told by the Veda, that there is a mind other than the brain is told by the Veda. Sukshma Sharira. The establishment of Sukshma Sharira is through Veda. And so they all talk about the senses, perception, everything, Bauddhas and everyone. So the basic things they have gained from the Veda and now they refute the Vedas. So anyway, so they in their opinion, in their philosophy rather, well, in their matas basically, they have their this all concepts given by the Veda. Some people argue that these Mahabhutas are Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha reveals manyness, not Mahabhutas. Pratyaksha reveals. That way Pratyaksha says that the water and stone are different. Pratyaksha says that a wood and stone is different. They are different. But wood is also a earth and stone also is a earth, Mahabhuta, has been told by the Veda only. So Pratyaksha does not reveal both are, Pratyaksha reveals they are different. Pratyaksha reveals they are different elements. Pratyaksha in fact reveals manyness in the creation. Pratyaksha does not reveal Mahabhutas. They are Mahabhutas has been talked by the Veda only. Anyway, and so this is all the darshanas basically. Well, they have talked about the mind and senses, of course, except Charvaka. Charvakas don't accept any subtle body, etc., other than the gross body. They say the brain alone functions. There is something called mind, antakaranam, which is distinct from the brain. Well, they don't accept. That's so. Forget about the Charvakas. But all other darshanas, well, definitely talked about the senses, Mahabhutas, etc., mind. Well, definitely must have borrowed from the Veda because Vedas were before any darshana emerged. And therefore, they have, taken a certain aspect of the Veda and they are talking based on that also. Who? Even Nastikas also. Anyway, and so certain padarth, certain categories they talk about, well borrowed from the Veda. And then, of course, Veda has talked about Swarga, Naraka, etc. Well, then those part Nastikas have refuted and they have their own, basically, darshanas. Even the law of karma established by the Veda has been accepted by all. Even Bauddhas also believe in Purvajanma and a Punarjanma. Jains also believe in Purvajanma and a Parajanma, Punarjanma. And definitely all these darshanas have come later. And they also talk about those darshanas, Nastika darshanas talk about law of karma. Definitely they must have borrowed from Veda. And so, definitely, so several things they have borrowed from the Veda, but certain categories they did not accept, and so then they have added new categories into that based on their own imagination and made their own philosophy, which is called a Nastika philosophy. So basically Nastika darshanas also have a basis in Veda. Anyway, and Jains and Bauddhas, well, basically talk about non-violence. That is also based on Veda. Ahimsa paramo dharmaha, that statement is based on a Veda's injunction that ma himsyat sarva bhutani. Ma himsyat sarva bhutani. Well, you should not kill anyone. So that's the Mula Vakya. Based on that, they are saying, in fact, Jains definitely are very great proponents of non-violence. Even Buddhist also, I talked about in that Adi Shankaracharya talk, that at that time, Gautam Buddha has basically spread the message of this non-violence, seeing the violence, the sacrifice of animals in the all this yajnas, etc. He gave a message of a non-violence, but the basis was ultimately Veda only. Buddha's Shunyavada also has come from the Veda. In Chandogya, in the 6th chapter itself, this has been said like this: Tad dhaike ahuhu asadva eva idamagra asit ekameva advitiyam. Tad dhaike ahuhu. Tad ha eke ahuhu. Some people say like this: Asadva idamagra asit. There was nothing before this creation was there. There was nothing before the creation. there was non-existence, void before creation. Asat means shunya. And therefore, so Upanishad does not establish that Siddhanta. Upanishad says, some people say. Uddalaka says, well, some people say there was nothing before the creation. And then Uddalaka says, Katham asataha sajjayate. How does a existent thing comes out of a void, shunya? How does an existent thing come out of a non-existence? Non-existence can give rise to non-existence. Non-existence cannot give rise to any existent thing. And therefore the creation which you are seeing as a Sat, existence, etc., cannot be from Asat. So that there itself, so Upanishad says that there are people who say that there was non-existent shunyam before the creation, and the creation has come from the shunyam. And so thereby Upanishad is telling that there are some people who have this kind of error also. Well, Bauddha Shunyasvada also. Bauddhas came much later than the Veda, of course, there is no question of saying like this. So, Bauddha Shunyavada also is based on this. And therefore, anyway, so Asadva idamagra asid, etc., that Vakya itself will reveal this thing which we are saying. Anyway, so in all the aspects, whether Nastikas or whether our Astikas, all have their basis in Veda, and therefore it is basically, on my part, I feel that we should have a little introduction in our mind about Vedas. Anyway, we believe there are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. And somewhere they are told 3. They call it as a Trayi, a group of 3. Trayi Sankhya Yoga Pashupati Matam Vaishnava Miti, etc., etc. In even Shiva Mahimna Stotra also, they say Trayi. Trayi means this 3. So there they include Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda. I have told you sometime they keep away this Atharva Veda because it is really, in Atharva Veda certain yajnas and devatas and etc. are very, very peculiar. Atharva Veda Gayatri also is of a different type. And there the yajnas are also of basically punishing the enemy and etc. That kind of yajnas are there. Request to devatas through yajna, propitiating the devata, there is a prayer on the part of a yajmana to basically take care of the enemy. And so that kind of a thing. So Atharva Veda has a little different. I am not trying to create any prejudice anyway, because our Mundak and Mandukya both belong to Atharva Veda, believe me. So therefore, not believe me, that rather. And therefore it is, just saying. So somehow they make a group of 3. These 3. Rig, Yaju and Sama. Puranas say that there was a one Veda alone. And then Vyasacharya appeared and he divided that Veda into 4. That is how that Vyasacharya is called Veda Vyasa. That is how some people believe like that. But basically Veda themselves describe this division. And therefore we cannot accept this thing that there was one Veda. Some Purana says that there was one Veda and then Vyasacharya divided into 4, etc. Well, we can't accept because the Purusha Suktam describes all Vedas. And that is how also Tasmad Yajnat Sarvahuta Ruchaha Samani Jagnire, etc. Chandagumsi Jagnire Tasmat Yajus Tasmada Jayat, etc. So, Richaha means Rig Veda, Samani means Sama Veda, and Yajuhu, so Yajur Veda. So, the Purusha Suktam, which is a part of Krishna Yajur Veda, reveals this. And therefore, Veda themselves talk about this 3 division. And therefore, Vyasacharya came and divided into 4. There was one Veda only, etc. Well, that is little difficult to accept. Anyway, so this, then what is the job of Vyasacharya? Why is it called Veda Vyasa? So it happens, it could be so that the Vedas, the division of the Vedas might have been, erased in course of time. And so he revived all these branches of the Veda and compiled properly all the different branches, we call Shakha. So different recensions of the Vedas, well, definitely he compiled properly and divided again, which was erased during course of time. So that is how he must be responsible for the revival of a different branches of the Veda and compiling properly. So which particular recension goes to which Veda, right? And therefore those things must have been done by Vyasacharya, and so he is called Veda Vyasa. This is what ultimate the conclusion is. In Veda there are three main sections. So Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda and Jnana Kanda. They say there are around 80,000 mantras. This is just a loose statement. There are around 80,000 mantras in Karma Kanda, 16,000 mantras in Upasana Kanda, and 4,000 mantras in Jnana Kanda, Upanishads, etc. And so total around 1 lakh mantras are there. And but this kind of a division also, it has come later, very late. It is not which is prevalent at in the Vedic time. So this kind of division has been made by somebody in a much recent time, and but Shankaracharya ji divides the Veda into two, that he mentions in Upodghat Bhashyam of Bhagavad Gita itself. Pravritti Lakshana Dharma, Nivritti Lakshana Dharma. So Pravritti Dharma and Nivritti Dharma. He mentions that there are two divisions: Pravritti, a life of activity; Nivritti, a life of contemplation. So, well, basically, so there is two types of dharmas have been described in the Veda: Pravritti Dharma, Nivritti Dharma. And he quotes for that, he justifies his division, and for that he quotes Mahabharata also. And then the upasanas, etc. in the Vedas, well, that is, he includes all the upasanas in the Pravritti Dharma itself. And also there is a Vedic mathematics and Ayurvidya, etc. also, that also has been included in a Pravritti Dharma itself. And so many other water, metallurgy, many things are there. All these Vidyas definitely go along with the Pravritti Dharma. Now, Sanatani Dharmis believe basically that this Varnashram Dharmas has a basis in Veda. And so 4 Varnas are there. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and 4 ashramas, Brahmacharya, Garhastya, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, 4 ashramas. This Varna and ashramas will have a basis in Veda itself. Of course, in recent times now, there are all 4 Varnas and 4 ashramas are not there. 2 Varnas are there and 2 ashramas are there right now. And there are 2 Varnas only, Brahmana and Shudra. Other things are not there. Vaishya, Kshatriya, etc. are not there. And so far as ashramas are concerned, 2 ashramas are now there. Brahmacharya ashram has gone, means having the brahmachari, who's having a matted hair and having a valkalam, etc. and going to Gurukulam and study, that thing has gone. Vanaprastha is just in the books now, and nothing is. So only 2 ashramas we see. Somewhere we see some sannyasis and rest are grihasthas. Anyway, so these 2 are there. And grihastha also, Veda defines grihastha as a one who does a Panchamahayagnyas. That also is not there. But anyway, grihastha for the sake of saying is there. And sannyasa also has many. Taking sannyasa itself has a lot of rituals. How much has been followed for taking sannyasa, that also is in question. So anyway, but these 2 are there. In society you find some sannyasis here and there and rest grihasthas. And so far Varnas are there, Brahmanas and this Shudra. And because basically Kshatriya, and this Vaishya, etc. are not there. There are reasons for that. We don't want to go into that. Anyway, so this is Varnashram, regarding Varnashram Dharma, that is also a source. The source is Veda. Now, Veda basically has 2 sections. I'm not talking from the standpoint of Acharya. Acharya said Pravritti Dharma and Nivritti Dharma only is there in the Veda. I am saying Veda has a two sections which is accepted by everyone. One is a mantra bhaga. Mantra bhaga is nothing but a metrical text, and which describes which has all the different singing glories of the devatas, etc. And that's the main portion of the Veda, in fact. And the second, that is also called a Samhita section also, wherever Ishavasya appears. And so mantra section or Samhita. Samhita means a collection. And mantras, basically in the mantra portion, all this is a collection. Collection of what? Collection of metrical text. Arya Samaji believes that, that is the only portion, real portion of the Veda. Only mantra section. They don't believe any other section. Arya Samajis. Anyway, and this is the one. Second is a Brahmana section. There also mantras are there, but they are not in a metrical form. Chando Baddaha. No. They are like a prose kind of a thing. But basically, Brahmana section serves two purposes. Brahmana section reveals varieties of the karmas. Mantra section reveals the glories. Several suktas are there. Several glories of the devatas, singing glories of the devatas. Brahmana section basically enjoins a person in different karmas. So several karmas have been described there. Also, Brahmana section is a commentary on the mantra portion. That's how also it has been said. Anyway, so this Arya Samajis say this Brahmana section is very useful. Which is a commentary on the mantra section. So that way we are accepting, but original Veda was just a mantra. And what about Upanishad and Aranyaka? That's a part of Brahmana only. So basically this Brahmana section only has this another two portions, Aranyaka and Upanishad. And Ishavasya, etc. Upanishad appears in the mantra portion. And the other Upanishads are basically in a Brahmana portion. And some of our Upanishads are Mantra Brahmana Upanishad, like Taittiriya. So Taittiriya itself, where the Upanishad itself quotes a mantra, remaining in a Brahmana portion, quotes a mantra. And like Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yoveda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman, etc. etc. Brahmavid Apnoti Param Ityesha Abhyukta. So Brahmavid Apnoti Param. Well, for that, this is a Brahmana Vakya of the Taittiriya Upanishad. For that, they quote a mantra from the mantra section. And Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, etc. etc. Or Brahmavid Apnoti Param may be in a mantra portion, and that has been defined in a Brahmana portion called Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, because Brahmavid Apnoti Param means Brahman word. So what is that Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Okay, what is Brahmavid? Who is a knower of Brahman? One who knows this Brahman, which is manifested in the buddhi. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam. Yaha Veda. This Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yaha Veda. One who knows. Where? Nihitam Guhayam. One who recognizes that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, in the buddhi, etc. is called Brahmavid. Okay, what will he gain? Brahmavid Apnoti Param. So Apnoti, Param Apnoti. What is that Param Apnoti? He gains limitless means what? So then Soshnute Sarvan Kaman, Soshnute Sarvan Kaman. He attains at once all the desirable objects. So that is how Brahmavid Apnoti Param, that sentence which is of a mantra portion, has been elaborated by Brahmana Vakya. And so Taittiriya is called Mantra Brahmana Upanishad also. So that is how it is. Anyway, so that there are certain Upanishads appearing in mantra portion, in Brahmana portion, etc. So they believe that Upanishad also belongs to Brahmana portion, and Aranyaka is also in a Brahmana portion, etc. Anyway, and some people believe this Upanishads, we should call it as a Uttarakanda, and other portion of the Veda where the karma has been described, etc. Karma upasana has been described. that is called Purva Kanda. Sometimes Karma Kanda hai and Jnana Kanda. That is also the division has been done. In Purva Kanda, there is a description of a dharma. Dharma means what is to be done, what is not to be done, etc. So description of a dharma and adharma both. And in Uttarakanda, there is a description of Brahma. And that has been revealed by the primary literature of both. Primary literature is in a sutra form. Jaimini Sutra says Athato Dharma Jignasa. Here Brahma Sutra says Athato Brahma Jignasa. And therefore Athato Dharma Jignasa, therefore one should basically know Dharma. But you are saying Adharma also. Yeah, it is there. In Jaimini Sutra, the sutra is repeated twice. Athato Dharma Jignasa, Athato Dharma Jignasa. And therefore, Athato Dharma Jignasa has been repeated means there the A is elided by Sandhi rule. You know very well that Sandhi is elided. So Athato Dharma Jignasa, Athato Adharma Jignasa. One should have a clear knowledge of Dharma and Adharma. So that is the knowledge of Adharma and Adharma, that's a subject matter of the Purva Kanda. And Brahman is a subject matter of the Uttarakanda. So this is how, Jaimini does, has made a primary literature called Jaimini Sutras. Vyasacharya made a primary literature in Advaita Vedanta and in Uttarakanda called Brahma Sutras. Anyway, so this is regarding this. And unfortunately or fortunately, there is, so far as dharma is concerned, that subject matter is concerned, all the astikas have a one matam. No major contradiction is there. So far as dharma is concerned, so far as Purva Kanda is concerned, whatever ascertained meaning of that Karma Kanda done by the primary literature in the sutra by Jaimini has been accepted by all. Except one or two places. And of course, I told you the Bhashyam also is there, which is called Shabar Bhashyam. Shabar Swami has written Bhashyam on Jaimini Sutra. So that Bhashyam is called Shabar Bhashyam. And that Shabar Bhashyam also, all these our Astika philosophers, in Ramanujas and Madhvacharyas and all, Vallabhacharya and all, nobody questions anything against either Jaimini, either the Bhashyakara called Shabar Swami. So far as Purva Kanda is concerned, Dharma is concerned, all have a one voice, except in one place, regarding sacrifice of animals. There is a little bit concern is there. That some says, no, it is just for the namesake it is there. Violence really is not there in the Veda, in the Purva Kanda, etc. Some says, no, it is there, and that is meant for this purpose and that purpose. So that kind, only on one topic, there is a little, there is a little debate over all our great Astika philosophers. All accept. But when it comes to Brahman, you leave aside Dharma, and then you come to Brahman. All matas will be there. We say Brahman and Jiva are identical. There is no separation at all other than in terms of ignorance. No. There is, you can't say Jiva is Brahman. Ramanuja says there. So all other Vedantins, it may be Shuddhadvaitins, Vishishtadvaitins, Dvaitadvaitins, Vedavadins, whoever are there, all have a lot to say regarding Brahman. They all have a one matam regarding Dharma. But regarding Brahman, they have all several problems. And so that is how we have to discuss. Otherwise, why should we discuss? And therefore, all these matas are there so far as the subject matter of Vedanta, subject matter of Uttarakanda, subject matter of Jnana Kanda is concerned. And so these two divisions, main two divisions are there. One has a subject matter called Dharma, other has a subject matter called Brahman. And all our Astika Darshanas have varieties of the view regarding Brahman. They have a one mata regarding Dharma and Adharma. So, anyway, so this is a Vedartha this is the introduction to this, Veda. And there are two types of upasanas. This I would just want to mention. There is a Hiranyagarbha upasana and there is a Prakriti upasana also, which Ishavasya also mentions. Prakriti upasana means the cause of everything. So basically, one does a meditation on the cause of the entire creation. So it's called Prakriti upasana. So basically, Prakriti means Maya only. But anyway, so there is a upasana on Hiranyagarbha and there is a upasana on Prakriti also. And there are other, all Sakam upasanas are there. They are all included in that karma section. And there is a Panchagni Vidya upasana, which you may be familiar with. Chandogya mentions it. Brihadaranyaka also mentions this Panchagni Vidya. That's Panchagni Vidya upasana. Shandilya Vidya is there. Then Aditya Brahma upasana. Aditya Brahmeti upasita, etc. All these are there. And certain Nirguna upasana, which we will be discussing in the 10th chapter of the Panchadashi. Well, all these upasanas are included in the Jnana Kanda. So this is how it is. Certain upasanas, well, because many people ask that in Upanishad, upasanas have been described. Now you say upasana belongs to Karma Kanda. Then the upasanas have been mentioned in the Upanishad, which you call it as a Jnana Kanda. Then how it is? So this upasana basically has been generally taken with the karmas because it's a manas karma. It's a mental activity, of course. But the upasana has been divided into two. And certain upasanas have been included in a karma section, and certain upasanas which are really helpful for gaining knowledge of Brahman, well, are included in the Jnana Kanda. So they are there in Upanishad. Anyway, so this is regarding Vedas. Now let's go back to our Nyaya Shastra. We will have to begin there. This word Nyaya actually, as such. So we have a Nyayalayam, which gives a justice. So they say this Nyaya Shastra is a Shastra. It's a scripture basically. They have their own text, scriptural text, that decides who is right, who is wrong. When two opponents, two different groups are discussing, debating, arguing with each other, accusing other and the other, accusing to each other, etc., or just debating. In that case, well, this Shastra decides who is right, who is wrong. And therefore, many advocates also in a current society, in a contemporary society, they say we would like to study this Nyaya Shastra of this Gautama, basically. I told you that Gautama Rishi has compiled the primary literature of the Nyaya Shastra called Nyaya Sutrani. And so many people, our advocates want to learn that what kind of arguments they were doing at that time in order to ascertain the truth, etc. Well, that's beyond the reach. And whatever in fact they were discussing and arguing and ascertaining the truth will not be useful in the current courts, etc. And therefore, that's not within the scope. Anyway, now regarding the Gautama Rishi, I would like to say something, and then we will go. See, what happens is the name Gautama has created a conflict, because there are several Gautamas in the literature, and in that this Shastra mentions several Gautamas, and therefore which Gautama has made this primary literature called Nyaya Sutrani? That's a question. And so they say the Gautama who was a husband of Ahalya, he must have made this Nyaya Shastra, etc. Because he was he was quite devoted to Nyaya Shastra. Therefore, he must have composed basically these aphorisms of a Nyaya philosophy. That's what somebody said. And that is one Gautama. Another Gautama who comes in Upanishad itself. You know very well, in Kathopanishad, Nachiketa's father's name was Gautama. Anyway, so Gautamo Mabhi Mrityo, etc. That mantra itself reveals that, and so Gautama was there in Upanishad also. Gautam Buddha was also Gautama. And then one Dharmashastrakara also was a Gautama. And therefore, well, Ahalya, husband of Ahalya, etc., cannot be there because he came in a Treta when the Rama was there, right? And therefore, that cannot be accepted because this Gautama who has compiled all this Nyaya philosophy in aphorism form, he has refuted Buddhas also. Definitely must have come after Buddha. And therefore, Treta is much, much before, and therefore, this Gautama was something different. And he has made one sutra which reveals that, which refutes the Shunyavada. So, abhavat bhavotpattihi na anupamruddya pradurbhavat, etc. Abhavat bhava utpattihi. From abhava, how come a bhava comes? I told you recently about the Chandogya Upanishad. So, thereby he refuted that Shunyavada. From abhava, bhava cannot come, etc. That is one of his sutra. Therefore, Buddhas Shunyavadis were before them. And this Gautama must have come later in order to refute them. And therefore, this Gautama does not belong to Upanishad. This Gautama does not belong to Gautam Buddha also, because how come Gautam Buddha refute himself? And therefore, well, this Gautama does not belong to even Ahalya's husband, etc., who came at the time of Rama, etc. Well, that's in Treta. This is a recent one, maybe around 5 BC, 5 or 6 BC. So, and therefore, this is because Buddha appeared at that, Gautam Buddha appeared at that time, and he must be little later, maybe in the same century or little 1 or 2 centuries later, but ultimately not before that. Anyway, and so this Gautama refuted these Buddhas, basically, Shunyavadis and all. And that was a seed. From that day onwards till today, they literally they cannot see eye to eye. Nayayikas refute Buddhas and Buddha refutes Nayayikas. They are just against each other, and in every basically tradition, philosophical tradition, it may be a Nyaya or it may be a Buddha tradition, there were brilliant people, very, very brilliant people who can refute the work done by the Nayayikas. And the Nayayikas also got a new people, and they also refuted Buddhas, etc. And so that was going on since beginningless time. They can't see each other, eye to eye, they can't see. Anyway, but the first thing was Gautama's work in form of sutra, where he refuted Buddhas. And from there, it started. And then Bhashyakara came on in the Nyaya Sutra also. And that is, I think, Prashastapada or something. Well, some Vatsyayana, Vatsyayana was a Bhashyakara on the Nyaya Sutras. So like Mimamsa, I told you, Shabar Swami was a Bhashyakara on Jaimini Sutras. We have a Shankaracharya ji on Brahma Sutras. Same way, there was a great person called Vatsyayana. He wrote a Bhashyam on Nyaya Sutra, Gautama's Nyaya Sutra. And there he took care of Buddhas. And then Buddha got somebody and he refuted Bhashyam. And then these people got, Nyaya people have got Vartikara also. And then he refuted Buddhas. So that I'm not going into that detail. That's not much useful to us. Anyway, and now I told you regarding any philosophy, 3 things should be known. So one is an epistemology, second is a metaphysics, and the third is a analysis of Purushartha. Now, epistemology is a Pramana Vichara, which is very, very important. Very important. In fact, Vedikas and Vedantins should be very clear regarding this Pramana. And Pujya Swamiji's talks always used to emphasize on Pramana. Anyway, Swamiji must have studied this, or else in our courses, I think somebody might have been invited to talk about all these things. But anyway, so epistemology is the first part, Pramana Vichara. Metaphysics is a Prameya Vichara. And third is a analysis of Purushartha, etc. And ultimate goal of every philosophy, ultimate goal is a moksha. The concept of moksha is different. That's a variety. I will say that also later. Anyway, so Pramana Vichara, Prameya Vichara and Prayojana Vichara or Purushartha Vichara. 3 things are there. And that also I told you last time that Prameya Vichara, well, will always follow Pramana Vichara. So, Prameya, when you can ascertain regarding any, you can ascertain the reality of anything based on Pramana. And therefore, Pramana Vichara should be always first. And I have given you a general principle which is accepted by all Astikas is this. Manadhina Meya Siddhi. So, well, Meya Siddhi. Siddhi means ascertainment of the Prameya. Even existence of the Prameya is based on Pramana. And therefore, so ascertainment of any Prameya, the reality of any Prameya has been ascertained based on the ascertainment of Pramana. And therefore, Pramana Vichara should be done first. Epistemology has to be, that's an aspect of any philosophy, has to be understood properly. And I am going to very elaborately talk about this also. And that's Prayojana Vichara, and is the third. And sometimes they add the fourth component also in any philosophy, that is called ethics. Our all Astika philosophies also have an aspect of ethics. And that is how our Indian philosophy, all Astika, any type of Indian philosophy, it's a holistic philosophy because it comprises all the factors. And so Vedanta also has a Pramana Vichara, Prameya Vichara, study of Purushartha and method of liberation, etc. Everything is there. So let's move to now Nyaya Darshana. Okay, so I told you Gautama wrote a Nyaya Sutra. I have given you a little introduction on Nyaya Darshana. Now this full-fledged, it's a system. Well, Nyaya Shastra is a very full-fledged system, and its allied system is Vaisheshika. So that's how they go together, and I will tell you how they have a partnership also. So whenever we mention Naiyayikas, we never mention one. Nyaya Vaisheshikas we say. Sankhya Yogas we say. So like twin brothers. Or they go together. They have certain thing in common. They share with each other. What Vaisheshikas are specialized in metaphysics. Vaisheshikas have determined the reality of everything. Vaisheshikas have decided the ontological status of the creation. They divide into several categories. I will tell that also. And so what is the status? Reality status, which we call ontology. What is Satyam, what is Mithya, etc., etc. So basically, Vaisheshikas are specialized in metaphysics, and Nyaya philosophers, they don't have that aspect is not much evolved in their system, and therefore they borrow from Vaisheshika. So metaphysics, the philosophy, as I told you, there are four aspects: epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, and analysis of Purushartha. So metaphysics part, Naiyayikas basically have borrowed from Vaisheshika. They don't have their own. Naiyayikas basically are experts in epistemology, Pramana Shastra. That is how one of the name of a Nyaya Darshanam is a Pramana Shastra. They sometimes call Tarka Shastra, sometimes they call Pramana Shastra, sometimes they call Hetu Vidya, etc., etc. So they have done an elaborate analysis on Pramana. That's how they are our gurus. Really speaking, in our academic circle, they say, who is a guru of a Vedantin? They say Naiyayikas, because they have done elaborate study of epistemology, that is a Pramana Shastra, Pramana Vichara, and logic. I have told you in epistemology two things are there, Pramana Vichara plus logic. They are very expert. Vaisheshikas they are not so powerful in this. So they have borrowed epistemology from Nyaya Shastra. And Naiyayikas have borrowed metaphysics from Vaisheshika. And that's how they have a partnership. So that's how we say they go together. Of course, it is not that Vaisheshika follows Naiyayikas in every aspect, but by and large they go together. By the way, in terms of history, Vaisheshikas have come before, because Nyaya philosophers have adopted many ideas from Vaisheshikas, and therefore they say Vaisheshikas have that philosophy that Darshanam must have emerged before Nyaya Darshanam. That's general agreement in the circle, in philosophical circle. Anyway, so Nyaya system is basically a pluralistic realism. I am using that word purposely. Pluralistic. Pluralistic means what? Who accepts more than one reality. Basically dualist, Dvaitavadi. And also they are realistic. So you can understand. They accept this creation, external creation, other than this knower, experiencer of the creation. So they are pluralistic realist. They are called pluralistic. They have a pluralistic realism. So and they say the God, the jivas, and these objects in the world, they are all real. Ishvara is real, jiva is real, and this jagat also objects are real. And they exist independent of me, the jiva, the knower. Ishvara exists independent of me, and Jagat also exists independent of me. External Jagat is not dependent upon Jiva, the knower, the experiencer of the world. No. It has its own existence. Please try to compare with the Buddhist. Buddhist will definitely does not accept, Buddhist in general, they do not accept, I will talk about it all four Buddhisms later. So how many time it will take, Swamiji? Forget about, because we have to study all this. So anyway, one or the other we will have to confront with. One in other, one Upanishad or somewhere else. Everywhere these people will come in the way. So anyway, so what I am saying is, so they believe Jeev, Jagat and Ishvara are three different things. Advaita say, well, basically it's a manifestation. All three are empirical version of one Brahman alone. But they say no. All three are different. So they are pluralistic people. And realistic in terms of, well, there is an external creation, real, other than this individual, the jiva, who is an experiencer. And and Nyaya Vaisheshikas are theist. They accept Ishvara. Unlike Sankhya. Unlike Mimamsakas. I will compare, because every system, independently discussing many things, several aspects are there. So certain things I will include also together. Anyway, so Nyaya Vaisheshikas, well, basically are theist. They are the atheist type. Sankhyas and Mimamsakas, etc. Yoga, well, basically they are Seshvara, Sankhya we call. So it means they believe in Ishvara. And they have defined also Ishvara. I will give that definition also. I have discussed in one of our class very long ago, but I will again discuss that. So anyway, so Nyaya Vaisheshika is, they are not ready to accept Ishvara as a abhinna nimitta upadana karan. They accept Ishvara as a nimitta karan. He is a creator, all right. But material is different from this creator, definitely. So thereby they have become Dvaitin, naturally. If the whole creation also, material also is, well, basically Ishvara alone, then there is no difference between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Everything becomes one. But they say no. Ishvara is just a nimitta karanam. They call it as a tatastha Ishvara. Tatastha Ishvara means who is just a nimitta karanam, who does not jump into the creation, who remains just a creator. He remains away from the creation, called tatastha Ishvara. So, sometime our Bhashyakara also is tatastha Ishvara. The word you will find. So, that tatastha Ishvara means nimitta karana. And Vishishtadvaitin, well, they want to come near to our Advait Vedantin. And they say also that Ishvara is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam, but that is for just namesake. So, we should not get cheated with this Vishishtadvaitin. They say certain things for the namesake. As I told you before also, Vishishtadvaitin says we accept this Vedavadi also, because it is all ultimately based on Veda only. We accept this Abhedavadi also, Advaitins also, and because that is also based on Mahavakya of the Upanishad only. Therefore, ultimately Veda is a source, and therefore we accept Vedavadis and Abhedavadis, Dvaitavadi and Advaitavadin also. And we accept Veda Vedavadin also, but of course ultimately, Vedavada or Abhedavada combined together is a Veda Vedavada, and therefore we accept that also. Okay, then what is your position? If you accept others' position, then what is your position? No, but we are little different from these three. So ultimately, Vishishta Dvaitin is a one. We have to be very careful. What they say, well, it may be just a lip service. Believe me. Because there may be some Vaishnava may get angry. But they are like this. They don't have a very clear position. And that is how on our part, we say this Vishishta Dvaitin is not different from this Dvaita Dvaitavadin, Bheda Bhedavadin only. It's a little different version of that only. So they say we are fourth one. Bheda, Abheda and Bheda Bheda, and we are fourth, Vishishta Dvaita. So we don't accept it. We in fact tell them not just Bheda Bhedavadin, later we say also that is Dvaitins only. Because any kind of acceptance of a reality other than the one is a Dvaitam only, ultimately. And therefore, this is all just a cheating, really, believe me. It's just a cheating. And therefore, they are not so honest people, so far as this is concerned. Other people, well, Nayayika says, well, we are Dvaitins. Jiva is different, Ishvara is different, Jiva and Jagat is different. And Ishvara is a Nimitta Karanam of this Jagat, etc. And what is the material, but ultimately, Parmanus, etc. I have told you before also. Parmanus were there, Nitya Parmanus, and Akasha is also Nityam. And so at the time of resolution also, this Parmanu will remain. The creation in the form of Parmanus will definitely remain. All the four elements in the form of Parmanus will remain. And then they join. Then, but who joins them? Ishvara joins. Ishvara is a Nimitta. So Ishvara is a Nimitta who joins the Parmanus into Dvyanuk, and then that's how it became gross ultimately. So Ishvara is responsible to bring out the whole Panchamahabhutas, gross elements, from Parmanus, and from the gross elements everything came as per the karma and everything. They believe that way. So all that Ishvara has brought out, all as per the karmas of the jivas, the varieties of the bodies and everything, and all these objects also. So Ishvara is just a creator, not a creation. Anyway, now let's go into Pramana Vichara further. Because we'll have to start with Pramana Vichara. I told you, before going to Prameya Vichara, when we want to discuss any philosophy, all the aspects should be discussed. And in that, the first thing should be discussed is epistemology, Pramana Vichara. Now, so far as Pramanas are concerned, means of knowledge is concerned, we cannot accept one means of knowledge. Like just a pratyaksha, perception. So of course, pratyaksha, well, definitely proves the creation, that varieties of the objects are there. Well, that can be definitely. So Jagat is basically existent because through perception. That's true, very true. But well, there are several objects which cannot be just proven by one pramana called perception. There are objects for which you have to infer, right? And therefore, well, as I told you, our example is all the time is there, that there is a fire on a hillock which is very far away. Well, I can't perceive it. Then how do I know that the fire exists? Well, that's a fire which is at, on the hillock, which is at a very, very distant place. How will I know? So we'll have to have another pramana, because perception doesn't work. Perception sees a smoke. Perception does not see the fire. Then how do you gain the knowledge of fire? How do this fire, which is a prameya, object of knowledge, how does you gain the knowledge of such a prameya fire which is at a very distant place? Well, you should use another pramana, and that pramana is an inference, right? And therefore, we should accept more than one pramana. So how many pramanas are there? So well, the pratyaksha. I discussed this in a introduction to Kenopanishad, by the way. So somewhere I also have certain advantage to avoid certain things, and therefore I am just telling you where I discussed. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi and Shabda. 6 pramanas are there. Now this different Astika philosophers, this darshanas, well, the philosophers of these darshanas accept Not all. Some accept 2, some accept 3 pramana, some accept 4, some accept 5, some accept 6. I will tell you which darshana accepts how many pramana and which pramana also. So, Nayayikas, first let's talk about Nayayikas. Nayayika accept 4 pramanas, and that is Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Upamanam and Shabda. Pratyaksha, perception, Anumana, inference. Upamana means a similarity, right? And Shabda. Shabda means here, Shabda means a verbal testimony. Means Shabda of a scriptures. Definitely, they are Astikas. So, Veda has a Shabda. Shabda Pramana. Veda is in form of Shabdas. So, the Shabda means not of the Pratyaksha. The Shabda also is there. Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha. Not that Shabda. So, understand that. So, this Shabda means words of the scriptures. Or words of their own scriptures. Let's say that way. Words of their own scriptures. Whatever the granthas they have composed, well, they are in the form of words. So that is also pramana for them. So anyway, so Nayayikas accept 4. And their beloved partner, basically, Vaisheshika accepts 2. Pratyaksha and Anumana. What about Shabda? No. Shabda is already included in Pratyaksha, You are saying Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa and Gandha. That Shabda is already included. So you hear Shabda through this sense organ. That Shabda, well, it is already included in the Pratyaksha, and therefore there is no need. So Vaisheshika accept only 2 pramanas, Pratyaksha and Anumana. Even they don't accept Upamana also. So what is that Upamana? That's similarity, illustration. Upamana means illustration. I give you a knowledge of something by comparing something. That's how it is. With what I compare, that you know. And thereby, well, I can give you knowledge. Like when I go back to, India, then certain things which I see here, I describe to them by giving certain illustration, right? And therefore, that kind of a thing. Puja Swamiji used to give example of always, I remember, Dorian. He loves this Dorian, or I don't know. But somehow he used to say that Dorian. It's like our jackfruit or something, and it has much smell from Malaysia, etc. So might have tasted also. Very sweet it seems. And they say when you cut that durian fruit, and then the smell goes in kilometers. So anyway, so he says that Malaysian jackfruit is like our jackfruit. So that's illustration. So that's Upamana. So you give a knowledge of a Malaysian fruit by illustrating a fruit which you have experienced. Upamana is definitely based on Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is a moolam, that we know also. So Upamana also giving a illustration, but what you give illustration that you have experienced, right? So our jackfruit, that's your experience. And definitely, so anyway, so Vaisheshika accepts 2. Charvaka accepts only 1. I'm including Nastikas also, our Nastika, Indian Dvadasha Darshanani. So I will include some whenever it is convenient to me, and wherever I understand few things, that those things I include. Anyway, certain things it is beyond my reach also. But anyway, I will tell you that this part I am avoiding because I can't understand that. Right? Anyway, but right now, so far as Pramana Vichara is concerned, well, out of Dvadasha Darshanani, 6 Nastikas and 6 Astikas, well, Charvaka accepts Pratyaksha, only Pratyaksha. He criticizes Anumana very much. He makes a joke of it about Anumana. So, because for him the matter only is a reality. They are monistic, right? I told you. Materialistic monism. So, they believe this matter alone is a reality which is perceptible. So, they say perception alone is a pramana. And the pleasure is a purushartha. They say pleasure is also experienced by you only, right? So, it's a pratyaksha. So, sukham also is a pratyaksham. We say sakshi pratyaksham, but whatever it is. So he says pratyaksha. He may believe in sakshi pratyaksha or indriya pratyaksha, we don't know. But he prayojana is a sukham. That is a pratyaksha. And the matter which serves your prayojana, which gives a happiness, that also is pratyaksha. Why should I accept another pramana? There is no need. Pratyaksha alone is a pramana for Charvaka. Anyway, then Buddhists accept two pramana, Pratyaksha and Anumana. Jains accept three pramana, Pratyaksha, Anumana and Shabda. And Jainism, well, the Shabda means basically their own scriptures they accept. Naturally, they have their own scriptures. Several very beautiful texts are there. And so we feel that we are great in all the way. It's not. They also have a very beautiful. Hemchandracharya ji has developed the whole grammar system like our Paninian system. Very beautiful. And there are many. I have seen many great monks. I mean Panditas, Sanskrit Pandita, but Jain monks. So well, anyway, but they accept three pramanas. Here, whatever we are discussing, we are really not, doing any kind of a mockery of any system. But ultimately, it should help us in our mananam. That, where they commit some mistake, that I will just point it out. That's all it is. And so how the Advaitins that way are really, win the position is we should know. So that for our own, we can clear our own doubts. Anyway, so this Jains accept three, Nyaya, as I told you, four, and then Sankhya accepts three pramanas, Pratyaksha, Anumana and Shabda. And then Mimamsakas, well, definitely accept, I missed here yogas. Now that I will verify and let you know that how many pramanas they accept, whether they like Sankhyas, they accept three or they accept more than that, I will have to verify. So keep the blank for them. And Mimamsakas, well, basically accept, there two schools are there, I told you, two powerful schools are there. Like Buddhists have four schools. These people have two schools. One by Kumaril Bhatta, right? He established a Mimamsa school. He was a great Mimamsaka. So that's a Bhatta school. And the disciple of Kumaril Bhatta called Prabhakara Mishra also has established another school called Prabhakara. So they have two schools, Bhatta and Prabhakara. And so basically this Prabhakaras, well, definitely accepts five pramana. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda and Arthapatti. Arthapatti means postulate or presumption, etc. Etc. That you know very well, we have seen also. And Bhattas accept six pramanas, all the six. So Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Arthapatti and Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi, non-cognition. Sometimes non-cognition gives you knowledge. Yeah, really. Non-cognition, like I see some people here in this chart, right, in Zoom, that window. And today I don't find one particular person. Absence of a particular person gives me knowledge about that person, that he is absent today. So the non-cognition also will give a knowledge of a thing. Anyway, and so basically, so Bhattas accept Anupalabdhi also, the pramana. What about us? Vedanti accepts all the six. It is told, it's a very popular in this circle, Vyavharetu Bhattanayaha. This Vedantin basically, so far as empirical matter is concerned, generally Vedanti follows Bhattas. Empirical matter, please understand. We follow one particular, our beloved brother called Bhattas. We just follow them. So they accept six, we also accept six. Anyway, then what about this Swamiji, Ramanuja and most of the other Vedantins, Ramanujas and Vallabhas, and they accept three pramanas generally. They Pratyaksha, Anumana and Shabda. Shaivas basically accept 8 pramanas, but we are not going to discuss much about Shaivas. Anyway, the Shaivism was very popular in Kashmir in those days, and later it came down in India. But anyway, so the Shaivas accept 8 pramanas. What are the other 2 pramanas, that I don't know. More than these 6 that I don't know right now. If you want, I can definitely find out for you, but I don't know that. Anyway, so these are the pramana. It's not pramana vichara. I have just mentioned. Pramana vichara is going to be done now. Now, this based, now first I will talk about this Nayayikas accept, see what happens is, after this pramana, let's talk about prameya also a little bit. Prameya means object of knowledge. And prameya vichara means say metaphysics. What is the reality of this object of knowledge? Object of knowledge through which pramana? These four pramanas, so far as Nayayikas are concerned. Now, they accept they divided the whole world into 16 categories. I will want to talk about that. The prameya of 16, pramana 4. I am talking about Nayayika system. Pramana vichara, in that I have just mentioned four pramanas, what they believe in. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana and Shabda. Prameya, they say there are 16 categories. And Prayojanam 2, etc. That I will talk to you. Anyway, so the whole world, basically has been divided into 16 categories. And they call them as padarthas. Padartha means not just object. Padartha means a basic category for the division of this whole creation. Their beloved friend, Vaisheshikas say there are 7 padarthas, 7 basic categories in the creation. So they are pluralistic. We say that whatever is there is Brahman. That is category. If you say what is the ultimate substance, Vastu, is this one alone? They say no. There are 16, Nayayika says. Vaisheshika says there are 7. I will first talk about the Vaisheshika who says there are Sapta Padartha, 7. What are the 7? Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha, Samavaya, Abhavaha, Ete Sapta Padartha. That is the first statement, in fact. The whole world has been divided into 7 categories, 7 realities. What is that? Dravya, substance. Guna, attribute. Karma, actions. Samanya, there is a generality. That is also there. Samanya means a jati kind of a thing. And there is a Vishesha. That Vishesha is a real category for these people. That's how they are called Vaisheshikas. They have brought out this Vishesha. One thing is distinguished from other. One thing has certain common with other thing also, and has a Vishesha also. There is a commonness here called clipness. That's common. So that's called Samanya. Yet, you distinguish one from the other. Right? There is a commonness called clip in both. But you are able to distinguish both the things, even though both are clips only. You are able to distinguish these two. On the basis of what? Because it has Vishesha. It has something in particular. And therefore, so this particular Vishesha, that category these people have discovered. Nayayikas don't have accepted that. So that's how these people are called Vaisheshikas. But anyway, Vishesha. Samavaya. Samavaya is an inherent relationship. Even though two things are there, but two things cannot be separated, like substance and attribute. Substance and attribute, like suppose a green clip. Now clip is a substance and green color is an attribute. Even though attribute green color and the clip are different, one is a substance, one is an attribute, one is a guna, another is a guni, one is a guna, other is a dravya. But this dravya guna relation, you cannot separate, even though they are related, but you cannot separate them. Inseparable relationship. So, that dravya and guna basically has been non-separate due to a category called Samavaya. Samavaya is the one which basically, due to that, two things are non-separate from each other. So guna and basically dravya, they are non-separate from each other because of this thing. Anyway, it's already time is over, and so they Vaisheshika says 7 are there. The last one is what? Abhava. In the creation there is a no, abhava also is there, and so non-existence also is there. So like in the table right now, there is absence of what? So absence also is there in the creation, part of creation. Therefore, this is another category. So these 7 categories, Vaisheshika says. Nayayika says 16. We will discuss on Tuesday. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.